Ma'am, any problem at that end?
Yes, ma'am. The recording was stopped, so I just came to the main. I'll be presenting it.
Okay. We were discussing about classroom psychology, that it deals with three important things. First one is the classroom behavior, then the class control and class management. Okay, so in all these three, we have to know the psychology of the student. Okay, so firstly, coming to classroom behavior. Now in classroom, under this classroom behavior, ma'am, next slide. You can see in this picture, I've shared some 4 pictures wherein, the students are distracted. How in each and every slide you can see this: one student is sleeping, one student is pulling someone's hair, two students are fighting with each other, some are dancing. So this is the way how students behave in the class, how they are in the class. So how do we control it? So students' ability to learn is affected by their interpersonal and intrapersonal behavior. Along with their academic skills, your interpersonal and intrapersonal behavior also plays a very important role. Most of the times what we see that when the student's behavior that does not conform to classroom rules or teacher's expectation, we simply take it, we regard it as, it's a distraction and we eliminate them. But that shouldn't be there. The highly destructive child is more creative actually. Okay, so what we can do is that we can beforehand set up some rules and regulations, how a student has to behave in the class. What is the general setup of the class has to be told at the beginning of the academic year, and we have to keep on repeating as and when required. Okay, so that's the reason always a general orientation is given beforehand to this a student who comes, a new student, or when you're entering into a new academic year, whether it is at school level or college level, orientation programs are conducted. So what do we teach or what do we tell during these orientation programs? So some of the times things that we tell is, how they have to behave in the class. So first of all, as soon as they come to the class, they have to greet everyone, including the teacher. Not only saying good morning to the teacher, they also have to greet each other, their fellow classmates. That's the first thing. They have to be on time. Their time is being punctual is very important. And they have to listen carefully to what the teachers are telling. So there shouldn't be any distraction. These are the rules that we set up in their mind, and we have to keep on telling them on and off until it sinks into them. We ask them to work quietly. We don't ask, we say that they shouldn't disturb others when others are working, and respect each other, use kind words, and do not spoil any of the school or college property. Do not write on the walls of the college or on the desk, and you have to update the notice board with the latest concepts. And in every class we have a notice board, so you can keep your timetable there, or else whosever birthday is there, you can just pinpoint there, or else any latest news which has come, which is of social concern, it can be kept there. Then such things. And no usage of mobile phones. Definitely we don't use it in the schools, but in the college level, if there is usage of mobile phones, definitely under the instruction of the teacher, we can use the mobile phones. Then no eating in the class or during the class, and also in the class, and don't drop anything on the floor. Then keep the board clean. So these are certain rules and regulations. So when we are teaching, the students only have to listen to us, and only they have to give their attendance. There shouldn't be any proxy calls. And when others, if at all you have anything, there's some query in your mind, when you can ask the question, you can simply raise your hand. Rather than giving chorus answers, the student can raise their hand. So these are certain rules and regulations that we frame in the student's mind. So this actually is a classroom behavior. You're setting up rules and regulations for the student so that he behaves well in the class. And this is not only done in the beginning of the year, this has to be regularly done as and when required. Suppose everything is fine in the class, then you don't have to bother at all. But we definitely have a mixture of students here with different intellectual capacity. So the naughtiest of the kind will definitely require. This is all when the teacher first to have to.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Your voice is breaking.
Next slide.
Yeah, now it's correct, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you, can we go to the next slide? Am I audible to you? Ma'am, was my classroom behavior audible to everyone?
And no, ma'am, there was a little disturbance, and right now it is okay, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you could just go back to the previous slide. I'll just give a brief summary of it.
Okay, ma'am.
See, what I wanted to tell under classroom behavior is that how the student has to behave in the class has to be told beforehand during the orientation itself. Every school or college conducts an orientation program wherein the student is told about the rules and regulations of the college. In the same way, rules and regulations, how a student has to behave in the class also has to be told to the student beforehand. So what are those rules and regulations? How we greet our fellow classmates and how we greet our teachers, not only our subject teachers, but also teachers of other section, teachers of other disciplines, also how we greet them. Okay, so that has to be told, and while taking attendance, no one has to talk, and so that there is no chance of proxy calls. And definitely in colleges, there is no usage of mobile phones until and unless it is advised by the faculty in charge. Suppose a faculty wants students to use the mobile phone, then definitely you can go for it. But without the knowledge of the faculty, it is always not advisable to use the mobile phones because the students can get distracted. Then the student should work quietly. They should not disturb others who are working. They have to be kind with words and actions, and they should not, spoil the property of the school or college by drawing on the walls or on the desk, and not eating during the class hours, or during the lunch break. Also, when they eat, they shouldn't drop anything on the floor. Do not chew gums in the class, and all these things. So these are some of the things, that we have to tell them beforehand. And definitely each and every class has got a notice board, so we can tell the students to always update the notice board with the latest happenings. Okay, or at least with a quote, or at least with whosoever birthday it is, or at least about a social personality or a scientific personality, anyone, an eminent personality, a small short write-up on them, something like that, so that we feel the connect. All the students in the class feel connected to the class. Okay, so classroom behavior can be controlled only when a set of rules are told to the students beforehand. And not only in the beginning of the year, it has to be repeatedly informed to the students, so that all the naughty students who are there, they also fall back on track. So that is about classroom behavior. So under this classroom behavior, what we have to understand is instructions should be given beforehand. And repeatedly, you have to remind the students of these instructions. Next slide, ma'am. Now, class control. Now, this totally depends upon the faculty. Okay, so first we have given instructions. So from the student side, now they are decent enough to sit and listen. Now it all depends upon how we are going to control the class. So it all depends upon the faculty who is taking up the class. First and foremost, you have to plan the class accordingly. Now, for example, you have a time slot of 55 minutes or 50 minutes, whatever the one session, one period of your class is for 50 minutes or 55 minutes, kindly plan according to that. Or the attention span of the student is not more than 25 minutes. It is always 20 to 25 minutes. So keep in mind that we teach only for 20 to 25 minutes maximum. The rest of the time, initially as you get into the class, kindly take your attendance. First of all, greet the students. Look at all the students. If you have 50 students in a class, kindly have a glance at all the 50 students. If you happen to see someone who is not in mood, kindly ask them, what's wrong with you? Aren't you feeling well? This creates a connect with the student. The student feels that, yes, there's someone who is concerned about me and I have to get back to them. I have to give something. When the teacher is asking me something, the student becomes very conscious in listening to what we are teaching. So we build a connect there. So it's always good that we interact with the students. So 25 minutes of your teaching, the rest of the time, you ask the students how they're feeling. You ask about the previous class, recap the previous class. Whatever we have taught in our previous class, we can ask some questions to them. And we also understand where we stand in teaching, how far our students are understanding the concept. So some kind of recap. And if the student doesn't understand, then you can once again explain the previous topic, which is connected to the topic that you're going to teach today. So all these things. So your teaching is only for 25 minutes. The rest of the time is you interact with the students and how you're applying the given concept to the real world. Okay, you can always cite n number of examples. The concept should be told once, but it has to be applied to the real-time situations through various examples. This makes the class more interactive. Okay, so that is called planning adequately. So within that 55 minutes of time slot, whether you're going to conduct any games for them, game in the sense something concerned to your subject. It could be a group discussion, or it could be a solo presentation of the student, or a quiz in the class, something like that. Plan adequately and firstly know what you're teaching, in which way the student is benefited out of it. The student always is inquisitive to know that, why am I learning this? Why is this topic important to me? So connect the student with real-time situations. So first of all, I should know why I'm teaching this. So if I'm clear enough in why I'm teaching this, it will be very clear for me to help the student to understand why he is learning this. So here, that's the reason nowadays in our syllabus books also, we are writing the objective and outcome of each and every unit. Okay, why we are teaching this topic to you, and after you understanding this topic, in which way it is applicable to the real-time situation. Okay, so the objective and outcome should be clear. In order to make the student understand the outcome, you should know what you're teaching. Okay, and lastly, be open to questions and criticism. So sometimes, no, it's always not mandatory that we know everything. Right. So when the student asks us some questions and suppose we are unable to answer them, kindly be open to tell them, saying that, yes, I'm not aware of this topic. I'm not quite confident on this topic. Kindly give me a day's time. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Instead of giving them some wrong answer, because, you know, these are all labile minds, wherein once what answer you give to them, it is fixed in their mind. So we're giving them something, the knowledge that we are giving to them is a wrong knowledge. Instead of giving a wrong knowledge, kindly take a day's time and say, I'll get back tomorrow with the right information. And be open to criticism. Sometimes the student, because now in this Google world, with AI coming up, students are aware of certain concepts, right? So when they are aware of certain concepts, they may feel the kind of explanation that we are giving may not be apt for them. It doesn't sync with them. So sometimes there are all chances that they can criticize, but there is always a way of understanding their problem and giving back your response. Most of the time what happens, we are prepared, but no, the art of delivering the content is very, it comes out of practice. Most of us are always prepared. We have good subject knowledge, but the art of delivering the content is something that we have to practice. It depends from the intellectual capacity of each and every student. Some students, the moment you talk about the topic, they grasp it quickly. But there are some students with low intellectual capacity who may take time to understand the concept that we are delivering. So we have to deliver it in various forms, which suits the student. Okay, so you tell, normally itself we tell the topic 2 times. Whatever topic that we are teaching them, we repeat it 2 times. It's always advisable that the 3rd time when you're telling it, tell it in a different way, which is receptible to the student who has not understood for the first 2 times. So the art of delivering the content solely lies on the teacher. So we have to practice how to deliver the content in various ways so that it is receptive for the student. So once a student is understanding what you're teaching, it is going through their head, not instead of bouncing, it's going through their head, they're able to understand, then there is no need for us to have any kind of this classroom behavior, classroom management techniques. It all depends. Here the lead is taken by the teacher, wherein whatever we are delivering, if we are delivering according to the needs of the student feels, yes, I have reached my outcome, then there is no point of any control required here. It is very easy for the student. Both the student as well as the teacher are comfortable in the classroom. So that is about classroom class control. Next slide, ma'am. Now, classroom management. Now, here under classroom management, actually, this is quite common, and most of the time we all know this. I'll just quickly go through this classroom management here. At both the classroom level or at any institutional level, let it be school level or college level, the development of an effective learning climate is based on the structure and support, how the school or college functions and what kind of support is given by the teachers who are working in that particular institution. The structure and support will determine effective learning climate of that particular institution. Okay, now when I say structure, here students need to have a clear understanding of the rules and expectations of the classroom, and these expectations, they have to be communicated directly and more frequently and consistently, actually. Like for example, when I say, what is the structure? Now you have a unit test, or you have a mid-semester exam, and then you have a viva voce, you have assignment. Kindly, all these internal parameters have to be strictly instructed to the student. Okay, and what level of attendance percentage is required for them to attempt for their semester end exam. All these rules and regulations, though it is given in their diary or handbook, it has to be again told orally to the students so that they understand completely. So this is a structure. What kind of structure your school or college is having? Okay, so structure should be clear, and this is done in the orientation as well as regularly on and off whenever the student has any query. Though it is there on our website, though it is given in the handbook or in the diary, we have to repeatedly keep on telling them. So that is about the structure. Now the next most important thing is the support. Support is given by the teachers. Support in the sense, it is the connect that we make with our students. In a classroom we have 50 students and all 50 are unique. Okay, some must be coming from a vernacular background, some must be they already have a prior knowledge of what topic I'm teaching today, so they don't feel like listening to us in the class. Some don't understand what we are teaching because they don't have any basic knowledge. Okay, and some are distracted, some are emotionally depressed. So you have such variety of students. Some are so creative that you just give them a hint and they visualize everything. They don't feel like listening till the end. You start off the topic, might be first 10 minutes they listen to you, and the rest of the 15 minutes they're not interested in what you're teaching. So you have a variety of such students. Okay, so how the teacher is going to support these students? So the onus is on us, how we are going to connect with the students. So it is always student by student. How we connect with the student is always student by student. And initial days we may have trouble, but later on, when the student gets used to your style of teaching, then it becomes very easy. 1.5 months, we have this difficulty. But after 1.5 months, we get to know what the students are. Students know what is our teaching style. And it becomes very easy for us to convey the information, to deliver the information, and for them to receive also. Okay, so the under classroom management, two important concepts. First is the what kind of structure the school or college is having, their internal parameters, their assessment techniques, all this has to be told. And second is what kind of support the teachers are giving to the student. These two are very important. So under this, now we are having these, as per the slide, if you can see how you can manage the classroom, I'll quickly go through it. So you can create a classroom rules with your students. So as I told you during orientation, all the rules can be told to the students. And then, but these rules should be very flexible because it's again varying from student to student. Suppose a student has met with an accident and he's under medical leave. So we consider such students and allow them to write their exam. So certain rules can be flexible also. And then, you know, when students are engaged and excited about learning, less management problems. So if the student is interested in what you're teaching, the student wants to, first of all, you create an environment where the student likes the subject. So how you create that feeling for the student to like our subject? When you relate it with real time. Means you're learning this concept and it will be useful for you in this field. Okay, so suppose he's going to learn something which is where he's not going to use it at all. Now, most of the time, if you can see history classes, students always ask, why should I learn? Someone fought for something long time back, centuries ago, people had fought for some kingdom. Now, what is the point in I understanding? There is a meaning to understand that also. That is where the role of a teacher comes in, because all such things are not on the internet. It's how you connect with the students and how you decipher the meaning of the concept that you want the student to understand lies on the teacher. The teacher will say, no, this was a strategy. See how the planning, firstly, how the king had planned to go for a war. What was the reason to go for a war? Ethically, how ethically the king was correct to go for a war. War is always the last option. Okay, before that we have several negotiations. So the student has to learn how the king executed his, first of all, he had a plan, and then how he executed the plan and what are the outcomes. So out of that, what we learn the planning mechanism, the strategy, what the king followed. Though it is history, there is always something to learn from somewhere. In the same way, now science is very important for us because we always, you know, we understand. Now, for example, if you would talk about coronavirus, so I don't know how far it is true, but they say it was a bio war. So you teach them the concept of bio war, and then you tell how it is relatable in the present society. How you have to be, you teach definitely at the college level. This bio war and all is definitely taught at the higher level and not at the school level, wherein, you know, you get to know that you're destroying the environment by releasing virulent particles into the air, by releasing harmful substances into the air and killing the population. So when they're learning here, when I'm talking about bio war, I will give an example of COVID-19. Without knowing how far it is applicable because it's nowhere proved, but I can cite an example. So student immediately catches up with it. He links it with it and he's understanding. But when I talk about history, a student is always doubtful, but there also I can talk about the planning and execution techniques. Okay, then always have a backup plan. Now, always have a backup plan means, suppose I want to teach a new topic today, but the students are not interested. It's in the last hour, or it is on Saturday where tomorrow is a Sunday, it's a holiday. Students are not interested, mostly during the weekend or during the last hour, students are not interested, or soon after the vacation, the first day when I want to teach, the student is not interested. And what to do? I should always have a backup plan. I have to conduct something creative, either a group discussion or a quiz, some innovative teaching pedagogy, wherein the student comes back, where what is my concept? I don't want to lose an hour. I have to finish a topic today because as per my lesson plan, I have to finish a topic today. So how I am going to finish my topic today? In a way that my student also accepts. My student is in no mood of listening to me, but I am trying to put my content in a playful manner, wherein the student also receives the information. He learns what I want to teach him, and at the same time, he is not bored also. So such kind. So always I should have a backup plan. Means I should devise several teaching pedagogies and keep in hand. Always, instead of not only using the chalk and talk method, I can go for innovative methods of teaching, wherein the student is also interested in learning. Then get the students involved, have them take part in designing. So here you can keep group discussions, or you can keep some elocution, wherein or flipped classroom methodology, wherein the student give the handout to the student one day before, wherein the student prepares everything at home, and here he comes and delivers the content. Okay, so sometimes students who always feel like teaching, they are happy with it. They come much more prepared in delivering the content like this. Then be aware of all the school resources. So, and at the same time, we are having so many facilities in our campus, but in which way are we allowing, or is the student aware of the resources that is present in the school or college? Student is coming, attending the class, going back home. Is the student aware of the various resources that are existing inside the campus? Make the student aware. So all the time, instead of teaching in the classroom, you can take the students outside. Okay, you can take the student outside. Now, for instance, if I'm talking about greenhouse, definitely every other college or school has a greenhouse. You can take them to the greenhouse and show them practically what exactly is a greenhouse, what a greenhouse gas is, what is the benefit, how is it constructed, and what is the benefit of a greenhouse. Okay, we have solar cells. Most of our buildings nowadays are green buildings. So we have solar cells. So instead of talking about solar cells within the classroom in the physics class, take them outside, take them to the place where solar cell is placed and show them. So practically, when the student is seeing, he is also more interested. So it's always not necessary that the teaching should be done within the class. You can also take them outside. Then do not ignore any negative behavior. Most of the time, what we see that if the student, right, the slide is not clear, kindly send PPT of today's session. I will do it. The student is not interested. Student is showing a negative behavior. If the student is showing a negative behavior, normally what we do, we just leave the student. We don't, focus on that student, but it's wrong. We neglect the student. We only focus on the student who is listening to us, but it's wrong. Our main focus should be on the student who is not listening to us. Okay, how you get them back on track? You talk to them. What's your problem? Why aren't you listening? Are you not interested in this topic? Or do you have prior information about this topic? Ask them. Once when you ask them, the student comes back on track. He feels like listening to you. You can take as if it in two ways, either he feels that ma'am is concerned about me, or he's scared that ma'am is going to question me. Either of the ways, he feels like listening to you. Okay, so always connect with the students who show negative behavior. Then create a daily duty routine. So first of all, as a teacher, we have to be on time. Okay, and we should have a particular methodology of conducting the class. How you conduct the class? Okay, so the student knows ma'am will come. Initially, she's going to greet us all. She will ask us. So we have to be very conscious in giving our attendance, because suppose you give your attendance in a meek voice, then ma'am is going to ask, what happened? You're not keeping well today, or you don't want to answer your attendance. So when you ask like that, people are very alert. Students are very alert, and they try to give you attendance in an upright voice. Okay, so then she's going to ask about the previous class, recap of the previous class. Then ma'am is going to teach for 25 minutes. And then she's going to ask, how are we going to relate it to our real-time situation? Some discussion. So after teaching the content, there is always discussion. So I have to listen to the class. Otherwise, I can't involve in the discussion. And if I don't involve in the discussion, again, she's going to question me why I'm not involved. So always keep the student upright. Always work with the student, connect with the student for all the 50 or 55 minutes that you are in the class with all the students, so that they feel conscious, they are mindful in listening. Okay, and we have to be systematic in order to create a discipline in the student. Suppose I am not systematic. Today I teach some topic, and most of the time what we do, we teach the first unit, then we go to some topic in the third unit, then we go to some topic in the last unit. In school education, today we teach first chapter, and sometimes we go to third chapter, then again come back to second chapter. More or less, this is not a good pattern of teaching, because the syllabus is so framed that every other unit, every other module is in continuation to each other. So there is a systematic progress of information delivered in the textbook. So it is advisable that we follow the pattern. Once in a while, okay. But regularly you keep jumping from one module to other module with some topics here and some topics there. This creates chaos in the student. The student doesn't like the subject. Though you teach well, the student may not like the subject because he's unclear. What he's learning is unclear about it. So we have to be very systematic in order to build up a discipline in the student. Next slide, ma'am. Okay. Now, so this was all about classroom psychology. So under classroom psychology, what we saw what is classroom behavior, what is class control, and what is class management. So in this way, you can handle a class. But most importantly, you have to know the psychology of the student. So there are around 20 principles to understand student psychology, out of which, due to lack of time, I have only taken up 10 principles, which I felt are more important. So firstly, coming to the growth mindset. Okay, so here when I say growth mindset, there are actually, in any, when you see a student, you have two types of students. Okay, one is a student who is having a growth mindset, and other type of students are ones which are having a fixed mindset. Means know what they feel, the students of fixed mindset, because you have more of this type in the class. What they feel, I'm not intelligent. No, I didn't score well. My interest is different. I like photography. I like dancing. I'm not good at studies. No. So they underestimate themselves and they have a fixed mindset. No, maths I can't do. Oh, English, not my cup of tea. I can't do. I can manage passing, but I am not that very good. Okay, so this is fixed mindset. Whereas growth mindset students, what they feel that, yes, I can improve. I can improve my English by learning 10 new English words per day. I can improve my English by reading books, or I can improve maths by practicing every day. Okay, so there are students of that type, but they're very rare. So as teachers, what we have to do is we have to the students who are having this fixed mindset, we have to change them into growth mindset. Of course, that is a challenging task. It's not that easy, but it is our role. We can always foster students' beliefs that intelligence or the ability to score more or do such things is not constant, or it is not something coming from genetics and all. It's nothing but your hard work, your consistent effort, and your experiences that you face, and how you make up your mind. Suppose a student was a below average student till 10th standard, you can't say once when he comes to college level how he's going to change. It all depends upon the effort that the student is putting up in his mindset. If he has a fixed mindset, then nothing can happen. But it is the role of a teacher to transform a student from fixed mindset to growth mindset. You try to make them understand, okay, now most of the time, whenever any student fails, suppose he doesn't do well in something. So we ask the reason why you have failed. What is the problem? Why haven't you given the presentation properly? So the student says, no, I don't have good communication skills. I know the content, but I don't know to speak properly. I'm not fluent in English. So we say, okay, the teacher also takes it for granted. Oh, yes, she is from a Marathi medium or Telugu medium or Hindi medium, so she can't speak English. The teacher also takes for granted and says, yes, I understand. It shouldn't be like that. So what? So what if you're from any vernacular background? If you would have practiced it well, you would have done wonders today. So try to target on the problem that the student is having, in which way he can improvise over the problem, rather than me taking it for granted and also giving the same mindset for the student. So any student of any category, any level, any intellectual capacity can fare well, depending upon the efforts that he is going to use. We can always convey to the students that the failure in any task is not due to lack of their ability, but it is because of their effort. They didn't put enough effort. That is very important. So the first thing is here, never brand the student saying that, yes, you are from this background, that's why you're faring well. Yes, I understood. No, it's not like that. You have to add additional efforts in order to be on par with the other students in this society. So that is about growth mindset. Now, next, coming to prior knowledge. Now here, when I talk about prior knowledge, now here also again you're having two types of concepts here. One is called conceptual growth. Another one is called conceptual change. So first you should understand what is called conceptual growth. Conceptual growth means, already the student has some knowledge, because already the student has learned something till 10th or till 12th, he has some knowledge. And whatever I'm teaching now, that he is adding to the existing knowledge. Whatever he learned till now, plus what I'm teaching now, that he's adding to the previous knowledge. So that is called conceptual growth. The student already has some knowledge. I am teaching him something new because he's come to a higher class. I'm teaching him something new. So now he has added my teaching to his existing knowledge. That is called conceptual growth. Then what is conceptual change? Now, conceptual change means, here the student has got some prior knowledge. Okay. And whatever I am teaching him, the new concept that I am teaching him, the student is not that happy in taking my content, because he's already having some prior knowledge with him, and that prior knowledge is against the new teaching that I'm teaching. He's somewhere not happy with taking up the content that I'm telling him. So this is called conceptual change. So it's very difficult for us to bring a conceptual change in the student. It is actually a challenging task. He has a prefixed feeling in his mind. No, my teacher in 10th standard taught me like this. Now in inter, my teacher is teaching like this. How is it possible? So this is conceptual change. So this requires a lot of effort. When the student's knowledge is the student is either, it could be inconsistent or some erroneous information in his head. Okay. So these misconceptions or sometimes alternative conception has to be removed, and whatever I'm teaching should get into his head. I'm not saying that what he has learned in his prior knowledge is wrong, but might be his understanding level at that point was not correct. He didn't understand the concept properly. So now when I'm teaching him this concept, it is clashing with him. So it is my duty how I change that concept in his mind. So that is a very, very big task. So for that, what you have to do, you have to sometimes go for role plays. Okay, wherein my teaching, whatever I'm teaching right now is played by one student, and whatever is the previous concept of the student, whatever is fixed in his mind, he does the role play and then see the outcome. So role play is the best method for solving such kind of issues. And so that is one method. Another method is, you just ask the student, you can have a debate like, arrange for a debate like session wherein the students come with their own ideas, and at the end the student gets to understand the real meaning of our context, what we are teaching now. Though it is a very difficult task, it takes a lot of time for the student to understand. So here, prior knowledge is very important. But what is the prior knowledge of the student? To how far he has done justice in understanding in his lower level plays a very important role here. Suppose he has not understood the concept properly at his lower level, then it is a challenging task for the teacher to pump information at this level, because he will not take up the new information. So at that time, you have to either go for role play. It can't be chalk and talk method. He will never agree with it. So it should always be a role play or a debate like, wherein the student tries to understand. To an extent, he tries to change his misconception. Okay. Then coming to facilitating context. So this, as I already told you, whatever topic that I'm teaching now, it has to link with the real-time situation. Simply I'm teaching some topic which is of no existence today will create lack of interest in the student. The student always wants to know, why am I learning this? So link the present topic with the real-time situation. Okay. Next, coming to the next concept is practice. I'm rushing up because I have only 15 minutes and I have many points to cover. Next one is practice. So here, no, as I told you, what people know, okay, in their long-term memory, that is generally what they know, what is inscribed is their long-term memory and short-term. So we have two types of memory, long-term memory and short-term memory. So what already people know, their knowledge base, that is called long-term memory, and short-term memory is their working memory, okay, which they are using it only for the moment. So here now, if I want to transfer information from short-term memory to long-term memory, the student has to undergo practice. Means the student is using, generally in the classes, it's all short-term memory. If I want to convert the short-term memory into long-term memory, there is only one concept, that is called practice. The student has to repeatedly practice in order to create a database in his mind. For example, you have some problems, you have solved exercises. We have to tell the student to practice those. Now, there are some chemical reactions. Chemical reactions cannot be by-hearted. Okay, there is no rote learning happening there. So the student has to practice. In order to convert short-term learning into long-term learning, the student has to undergo the concept of practice. So the teacher has to motivate the student to practice. This is a very, very important concept. Actually, I can speak a lot on this, but due to lack of time, no, I want to finish it up. Next, coming to feedback. Now, feedback is very important. No, most of the time, whenever suppose a student is giving an elocution or a talk or a debate or anything, any event, what we say, ma'am, how was the talk? Good job. Huh? This is the kind of feedback that we give. So this is a wrong thing. Instead of giving that abrupt feedback, you could say, see, this point what you spoke wasn't right. Might be you should have focused more on the outcome. Might be you should have focused more on the objective. Means the pattern in which he's saying, when he was speaking, when the student was speaking, you have to be vigilant enough in listening to whatever they are speaking. And after that, you could say that so and so concept, what you told. So the fourth point, what you used here was wrong, or you should have improvised this in this way, or else you were not clear, or you didn't connect it with the present time situation. You were just talking about the concept. Why didn't you connect it? So give a vivid feedback. There should be clarity of feedback. Instead of simply saying good job or well done, you always try to give student feedback in such a way, progressive feedback, so that the student tries to understand and doesn't repeat it next time. Okay, that is about feedback. The next, coming to self-regulation. Now, this is very important. Self-regulation skills means which includes attention, organization, self-control, planning. Then, all these are skills which has to be there in the student. So the student should, how these skills come into the student. These skills, they increase over time. They are not subject only to when the student becomes matured enough. These skills can be taught or they can be enhanced through direct instruction. The teacher has to tell the teacher, rather than only that 55 minutes only about teaching about the concept. You can also talk about value systems. You can talk about the self-regulatory skills, in which way they are important. So it is how you instruct the student, how you behave. We are role models for the students. So how I behave, how I self-regulate myself also plays a very important role on the student. And it all depends upon how I conduct the class, how the class is managed in my presence. See, every teacher, the students also will compare. Okay, this teacher, social teacher's class, the class is very strict. English teacher's class, the class is not that strict. Madam doesn't know how to manage the class. Students also talk about us like this. So for this, if the teacher herself is self-regulated, then it is very easy for the student to understand. So student will look at the teacher and learn. Sometimes if the student is not that clever enough to look at the teacher and learn, the teacher also can instruct the student. Rather than only talking about the content, once in a while, at least for 10 minutes, we can talk about how to regulate themselves. Okay, so that is about self-regulation. Next slide, ma'am. Next is creativity. Creativity is very, very important. Actually, no, it is defined as a generation of ideas that are something new and useful in a particular situation. Normally, people think that creativity is a stable trait. Means it's a trait that has come right from their birth. She is creative since the beginning. She's creative since her birth. Nothing like that. Creativity increases over the period of time. It depends upon the practice. It depends upon your reasoning skills. Normally, when we give any assignment to the student, okay, it is always important, wherein we use words like create, invent, discover, imagine if, or predict. Such prompts should be used in the assignments. Whenever you are giving any topic to the student, it is advisable, rather than saying just write about in vitro fertilization or write about global warming. Instead of that, try to use prompts like create, so that the student will think. You are enhancing the thinking capacity of the student. Create, discover, invent, imagine, all such things. So such prompts can be used by the teacher whenever you are giving any assignment to the student. And always, you normally in a class, if you see, the most creative student is the most naughtiest fellow in the class. It's very disruptive. So catch hold of these students, polish them so that they become innovators. Okay. No, but most of the times we neglect them because they're so creative, they're very naughty also, we neglect them. But instead of that, if you channelize their ideas, definitely they are going to come up with an innovative idea. You channelize. So channelizing them is in our hands. Try to understand why they are like that and then channelize them. And, it is completely in the hands of the teacher to provide opportunity for the students to solve problems. Okay, so sometimes you can ask them to be in groups and discuss. Sometimes individual also okay, but most of the times when you share your ideas, you are, creative ideas come out, and then you can communicate this to a wider range of audience. It's you discuss ideas, but when you communicate it, you get good level of improvement in those existing ideas. So it's always advisable that you discuss it with your fellow classmates or with your teachers or with any of your community members. So you undergo group discussion, and then you also convey this idea to others. When you're conveying, either you get innovative ideas, or you come to know, no, this is not going to work in this way. So you get some information about the ideas that you have generated. So that is about creativity. Then intrinsic motivation. This is very, very, very important. Intrinsic motivation means motivation from inside. The child himself should feel responsible. He is working for his own. The child is doing some task for himself. It is not that teacher is going to give me marks, or teacher is going to praise me, or teacher is going to, upgrade me. She's going to give me a higher position. I'm going to become the class leader. Nothing like that. The student is doing for himself. So if the student is having intrinsic motivation, he's going to reach his target very quickly compared to the extrinsic motivation that we provide. No, we keep telling the student all the time, you have to learn, this is life, this is a competitive world, you have to face the world, so you have to channelize your energy, you have to have clear set goals. This is extrinsic motivation, what we are telling the student. And then we are telling, if you're doing all these things, you will get a package of so and so amount. Okay, so there is an end product. Some kind of greed is fed in the mind of the student. That is extrinsic motivation. But intrinsic motivation, wherein the student himself, with no end in the mind, he doesn't want any prize or anything. He's just doing for his satisfaction. That is very important. That should be built inside the student by the teacher only. How it is done is, when you always talk positively, when you are disciplined. Okay, when you are disciplined, when you talk positively, and with that particular thing, how change is going to happen in the society. When a worldview is given to the student, that kind of motivation develops within the student. Means let the student understand what he is doing, why he is doing. There should be a complete clarity for the student. Then it is very easy for him to develop this intrinsic motivation. Then coming to teacher expectation, just some more time. Teacher expectations. Now here, no, when I say teacher expectations, now this is not that good thing. The teacher, normally we make up our expectations. We often hold expectations about the abilities of our students. Okay, now I'll say that yes, I'm in the boards. I'm pretty sure roll number 1, roll number 5, roll number 10, roll number 20, you 4 are going to get above 95. So this is my expectation. That's wrong. I shouldn't have an expectation like that. I have to expect from all the 50 students who are in my class. So when a teacher has this expectation, the student who wants to study, who wants to get good marks also doesn't get. Why? Because he feels that, no, my teacher has no expectation with me. So it is always not advisable for the teacher to have expectations. If you have expectation, have it for all the students. You have it, at least keep it in your mind. Don't reveal it out to the student, because the student gets demotivated when you select only some. I know you can make this. I know you can speak well. I know you are a good dancer. No. How can you know or I know? We shouldn't expect. It is out of practice that the student will progressively develop something. The expectations should be kept within us. We shouldn't be vocal about it, because it demotivates the student. Okay, then coming to the last one, that is goal setting. Now, goal setting is very important. Actually, the student should know for what reason he has taken this field. Suppose a student has selected biotechnology or any life science. So life science includes practicals. Along with theory, it includes practicals. And when I say practicals, the results may come, the results may not come. So it's always on trial and error method, wherein, you repeatedly keep doing your experiments. So here the student should not, initially the student was interested. Okay, the fascinating terms, biotechnology, RDNA technology, genetic engineering, the students are interested and they get into the course. But later on they think, okay, so many times I have to do the experiment, I'm slogging here. But whereas my friend in BCom computers or BCom honors, he's done for the day. He doesn't have to write so many assignments. For him, he has no practicals. I don't say that's quite easy, but he has his own set of problems there. But this person who is doing his life sciences always feels that his life is a bed of roses, unlike his. So that shouldn't be there. When you're taking up a course only, we are here to make them understand why you're learning this. What is the objective? What is the outcome? And in which way it is connected, in which way it is going to, at the end of the day, the person should be happy for what he is learning. He should feel contented. So you have to teach him right from the basics. It is a process by which a person establishes a standard of performance. He's, for instance, at a lower level, I'll tell you, suppose a person doesn't speak good English. So the person his goal setting doesn't start at initial stages. It's just, I want to learn 5 new English words today. If he's doing it consistently, then definitely he's going to improve over a period of time. So that is his preliminary goal setting. When I'm saying goal setting, it is not that he's going to become an engineer or a doctor at the end of his studies. Not like that. On daily basis, that small level of goal setting, which has to be fine-tuned by the teacher. We are here to help them to understand how they have to improvise over a period of time. So this process is important for motivation, because students with a goal and adequate self-efficacy, they are likely to engage in the activities that lead to attainment of that goal. Now, self-efficacy is also increased as students monitor the progress. They get to know, self-efficacy means they know, self-efficacy means a student comes to know like how they are progressing. When a particular situation is given to them, how they are responding or how they are reacting, what is their behavior to that particular situation, that is called how they are reacting. That is called self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is increased when you are talking about goal setting. Self-efficacy of the student is increased as the students get to know how they are progressing, whether they are moving towards their goal, whether they are acquiring new skills in this process. So all this is important. That is about goal setting. Next slide, ma'am. So at the end, I want to conclude saying that the true purpose of education is to make mind and not careers. Okay. See, even though I might be a very big CEO of a company, but if I don't have a stable mind, if I don't have a consistent mind, all my decisions are wrong. If my decisions are wrong, my strategies are wrong, then I'll go into loss. Okay. So it is, that's the reason classroom psychology is a concept which is very important both for the teacher as well as the student. Psychology is mind game. So here, the main purpose of education is to prepare the student to face the world with a proper mind, with a stable mind, rather than getting big degrees, which is of no use if you don't have a stable mind. Thank you.